So we can't really call this a comeback. You've done the Supercross, motocross deal for a long time, and now you're going into off-road. So did you ride when you were young, just ride trails for fun? Did you ride around here where we're at, or what?
Yeah, growing up, my grandpap, he owned 4.5 acres here, so he let me ride, and even on PW50s, my dad would take us on some of the trails that, you know, we're going to ride today. Obviously not the difficult ones, and so yeah, I grew up on trails, you know, from day one. It was just something we could do right from the house, so I always enjoyed it, and it was always something I liked to do.
So, and that's what you just said, hey, I want to have some fun. I'm still enjoying this. I'm not finished. I guess you obviously still love to ride dirt bikes. So,
yeah, it's a tough, that's a tough question, I guess, and answer. It's like my wife always says, you're always going to ride dirt bikes, so it's like you might as well, or race a little bit. You know, it's so hard to put into work and be fit if you're just riding around home. So it's like if you're going to put into work, you might as well, you know, reap some benefits of it. So that's kind of where the off-road career started a little bit, and you know, I'm used to riding trails, and it's a little more fun. And I kind of tell people I feel like it's a little safer. I tell myself it's safer, you know, just because you're not as much head-to-head. You know, obviously not the risks in Supercross over the jumps and stuff. You can have a little more rider error. So I try to tell myself it's safer than the Supercross and motocross without the starts and stuff like that.
Yeah. So the Supercross motocross deal, when you go to the event, you're able to pre-ride it. You know, you're able to learn the track and learn your braking points and your jumping points and your gear, and you're able to set the bike up for that particular track everywhere you go. But in going to the National Enduro Series, you're actually reading trail that you've never rode before, and you're trying to choose a bike setup on the front end. So how does that work now, what you're fixing to do versus what you're used to doing?
Yeah, it's definitely more difficult. You know, like you said, even back in my day, we had, you know, Friday or Saturday practice before the race. So we would get out, you know, 4 times before, you know, the motos or the main event started. So yeah, now, like you said, we have to, you know, read the arrows, read the terrain. But, you know, I think it's all relative. You know, we're all on the same playing field. So, you know, we're all reading the trail for the first time. So, you know, no one really has a head start. But yeah, for bike setup, I think as long as you're, you know, have a pretty good base and not be too picky, you know, you just have to make it work.
Right. So the events this year, you're contracted to ride all 10 of the National Enduro Series this year, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Of the tracks, of the events that are coming up this year, the 10, you know which 10 they are?
I know which 10, but I haven't been to all of them.
You hadn't been, that's what I'm getting at. How many of them have you been to?
I've done the Rattlesnake a few times and the Grassman in Ohio, and then I've done Oklahoma, Indiana I've done a few times, but yeah, I haven't done the Michigan, any of the Carolinas, or the Alabama, I know. So yeah, there's probably about half I haven't been to. So yeah, I'll definitely have to look for the trail ahead of time.
Michigan's a lot of rocks.
Yeah, I mean, even that's what even the Rattlesnake in Central PA, it's rocky, but you know, I think if you look at the Supercross motocross world, even with like the GP guys, how, you know, our setups are always, I think, stiffer than, say, the European guys, are not quite right for the rough tracks. You know, I think that was a problem even, you know, in my off-road career. Like, you know, maybe my setup just wasn't quite right for the rocks. It's not that I hate them. I just, you know, who doesn't like fresher dirt, you know, to not worry about hitting rocks. So I don't think it's going to be a problem. It's just rocks and even sand aren't as good as, you know, PA clay and dirt.
Yeah. Well, this is going to be a little bit different because before, when you rode the events, I guess you had some help. You had somebody to help pit, or what? Was it your dad or who?
For the Enduros?
For the Enduros that you've done.
Yeah, mainly it's my wife, Dawn. She would drive my truck around. So, yeah, I mean, she's a big help getting all the goggles and the gear ready and food, whatever I need. But, yeah, if anything big happened on the bike, it was up to me to you know, fix it. And but yeah, it'd be good to, you know, have the Enduro Engineering XC Gear group to fix me up.
Yeah, you'll have a full-time guy that's just concentrated on you to help you with your bike setup and make adjustments or tire changes, you know, in between the tests. So be a little bit different. Should be a lot nicer for you. You should enjoy it more.
Yeah, I think so. You know, even up until now, like for the most part, I do all my own bike work and, you know, keep my practice bike running. And even the last few years, I've kept the race bike. So it's like every Thursday, Friday, it's like I got to get it looking good, making sure nothing's falling apart. So, you know, I mean, I don't mind it because it's like I know everything's checked over, and if something happens, it's my fault. You know, I have no one to blame. So it's good and bad, but now I can focus more on just my riding and training.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you like the bike work. It's just my perception that maybe a lot of the guys that grow up in the moto world just doing moto, some of them I've seen, and at the ISD, you know, you have some moto guys show up at the ISD, and they kind of have to learn some of the bike work before they get there. That's something they really got to focus on, and you've already been doing that, so that's pretty odd. Did that come from, where did that come from, you working on your own bikes? Where did that come from?
Yeah, it's pretty neat. You know, we only had a one-car garage growing up, and my dad, he was a big stickler. It's like, hey, if I'm in the garage working on my bike, you're going to be too. So yeah, you know, my dad, he's the one that, you know, he's obviously into dirt bikes, and he even grew up working at a bike shop when he was first out of high school. So, you know, he taught me well, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can do most stuff. Once the 4-stroke motor stuff, I'm not real up to date on that, just because once the 4-strokes came into, you know, into the economy in 2004, you know, I was on factory team, so they didn't even let us touch in the motors. So yeah, 4-stroke, I have to get Dad's help still, but anything else I'm good to go.
Yeah. So this year you're going to be riding the Husqvarna FC350. So in the past, you mentioned I know you rode factory Yamaha and you rode factory Suzuki, and you were on the 450s, you know, when you were on the 4-stroke bike then. So you had a choice, you know, of all the 4-strokes that Husky makes. So why the 350? Why did you choose the 350?
Well, I think with especially the National Enduros, you know, they're a little tighter, you know, a little more difficult with the hills and the rocks. And, you know, we did compare, you know, the 350 to the 450, and I was a little faster on the 350. And even me, I was a little, I guess, pessimistic. Like, man, I've been riding a 450 now for the last 5 years.
I heard
and I'm
that.
like, yeah, I rode the 350 the first day, and I'm like, yeah, I feel pretty good, but I don't know, kind of feels kind of sluggish, a little slow. Then I got on the 450, and even my dad's like, yeah, you don't corner that thing very good. Like, you look slow in the corners. So then it was even, maybe 2 weeks later, my wife didn't see me ride the 350 yet. She's like, let me see you ride it. So we did some comparable lap times with the 350 and the 450, and the lap times didn't lie. So I'm like, I guess you guys are right. I'm fine with the 350.
Yeah, I'm faster on the 350, which that's awesome. It's their best-selling displacement motorcycle, so, you know, obviously they're on to something there. They sell more 350s than they do anything, and that's testament that even the top level guys at the very, very top are faster on the 350, because it's the perception that most of the, you know, it's a vet bike, and a lot of the vets ride the 350, but obviously it's fast for you too, or you wouldn't be on it.
Yeah, I think it definitely surprised me. I know I've rode one even 5 or 6 years ago, and, you know, they've obviously made improvements. And you know, I can see, like, in the motocross world, where, like, for the whole shots and, you know, certain jumps or up the hills, yeah, you might use the 450 power. But, you know, in off-road world, you know, when you have all these corners and tight trails and trees, logs, yeah, I think the 350s should be a good choice.
Yeah, it should be the way to go. So what are your goals this year? What are you shooting for, and what do you want to accomplish in this off-road year in front of you? What are you looking for? What are your goals, Broc?
Well, I don't have a goal yet on like numbers of wins, but I'm there to win the championship in Pro too. That's the goal. That's what I told Alan Rant and Napper. I'm like, I'm there to win. I hate losing, whether it's card game or uh, game on Xbox, whatever. It's like I'm a sore loser. I hate losing it.
Yeah.
It's I tell people, I'm like, even locally, like when I win, it's like it's not even that satisfying because it's like just a relief that you didn't lose. So obviously we're there to win. I know, some tracks or you may have some trouble, so I'm not going to put a certain number on a wins for the season, but the goal is to win the championship.
That's sweet. So, of course, I've read about you for years. I couldn't wait to get to the grocery store about all the magazines. I've seen you on the cover of every single magazine that I've ever bought from time to time. But this is something I don't know, and some other people may not know it. Where did you get the nickname Iceman? Where did that come from?
Well, it was actually my amateur Suzuki team manager, Cole Gress. Yeah, he just kind of coined it, I guess, because I didn't even, I was in public school and my parents both worked, so we couldn't go to all the, big amateur races. Like, I've never been to Ponca City in Oklahoma.
You've never been to Ponca?
No, and like World Mini in Vegas, I think I was only there once, and then even the Texas races, I usually only do one of those. And, I think he just linked it like no matter what, I was ready, and if the pressure was there, I got it done. So he said the Iceman was like, I don't crack under the pressure. So I know you're a big Sipes fan, and I think my last year at Loretta's 03, I think he and I in 258 we went 1-2, 2-1. So the third moto, it was whoever won would win the championship. So I was able to win the championship. So that's kind of like, I don't crack under the pressure. I try to get it done.
Yeah, that's awesome. So
but that's where it came from. Yeah.
That's where it came from. That's interesting. I didn't know. I read about it. So you're going to do the 10 rounds of the National Enduro Series this year. What else you got on your plate? What else you going to do this year?
I know we're doing one of the dual sport rides in South Carolina in January, mid-January. So I know we might be doing a few of those, like maybe a little riding school at some of the dual sports. But other than that, we didn't really make a plan yet. But
so it's like an organized trail ride, or what?
Yeah, I think is it Broxton, Virginia trail dual sport ride. I think in January, middle of January.
So you'll be able to just sign up and ride. I'll be able to go too?
Yeah, if you have a bike and want to ride.
Yeah, I can probably borrow one. Yeah, I could do that. Cool. All right, we got the flowing so good there, and you were so easy. I forgot some of my questions, so I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna ask you a couple of them. So yesterday you were talking about the difference in the relationship with the moto guys and the relationship with the off-road guys, and you had mentioned that back in the day, some of the moto guys, you were cool with them, you were friends with them and stuff, and you may say something to them on the podium or after the race, but you really didn't hang out and have their phone number, and y'all were cool. So is it that the way you perceive it to be? Is that the way it is? The off-road guys are closer? Or?
From my standpoint, it looks like it's closer. Obviously with social media and all that stuff, I see, people commenting on other people's stuff, and back in the day we didn't have quite all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I mentioned, especially in the Supercross motocross days, it's like, I was there to do one thing, and that was to do the best and hopefully win. So no one wanted to share their secrets, and I kept to myself. My mom would go with me, time me every day at the test tracks, ride, train, go home, and wait for the next day. So yeah, we didn't go out to dinners or socialize. And then even, I think it's good to have good sportsmanship, after the race. Hey,
Sure.
Good job. You beat me today.
Sure.
I don't like to see guys make excuses, but it's like, I don't want to hug you or nothing. It's like, you took money out of my pocket.
Yeah.
I don't want to stand there and talk to you all day. It's like,
Yeah.
I'll admit that I got beat or anything, but it's like, I'm going to figure out how to beat you the next time.
Yeah. So now you see a lot of the off-road guys, they actually train together. Some of them live together, and they train together now. So is that's a lot different than the moto guys?
Well, I think, I mentioned even the some of the training camps and stuff, even with like Alden Baker, some of those moto guys, they're linking up more, and we didn't really do that as much back then. Maybe a guy or two, but yeah, not the bigger camps, or not no hanging out. So I think it's good, but I think if you're motivated enough and keep on your regimen, you don't really need that. But yeah, you might need someone to lap time you to keep you focused, and so you're not slacking off. But I had that with my parents. They would go to the track with me all the time, so I had that. But like nowadays, my wife goes to work, so I don't always have someone to go to the track with me. So yeah, you have to have a friend or a buddy that rides too. So I can see where linking up with other riders works, but I don't think you should show your competition everything.
Yeah, kind of keep it on the DL, some of it, and break out and be a surprise.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to show people if I'm riding my bicycle or not. It's like I want to keep that under wraps and show them through the trees if I did my homework.
Let the results speak for themselves. Yeah. And all right, Broc, a lot of people don't know this, but you've been an XC gear athlete, what I call XC gear athlete, for a long time. Probably, I don't, how many, 3 years prior to that, 2, 3?
I think you started right at the end of the Husky, so I think fall 17 actually.
Fall 17.
And
so
then I've raced with it since beginning of 18 and on.
Yeah, and we've never met until yesterday, that was cool that I got to come up here and meet you. And then today, when we get through with this little interview, we're going to do some riding today, which is cool. So everybody didn't know, and we've made a bunch of changes. So the stuff that you were riding with, back then, it looks a lot different now. So the stuff that'll be on the new XC Gear Enduro Engineering Husqvarna looks a little bit different than. It's actually a Supercross model is what you're riding now, the SX, the lighter one, with the better looking badge and stuff. But it hadn't changed. The working parts are still the same. But I appreciate you, giving me a chance, 4 years ago. That was cool, and I appreciate it. It's a big deal for me to be able to make parts that you guys can ride. So that's the satisfaction I get out of it, and you get the satisfaction of hopefully winning the championship this year. I know that's what Al and Napper brought you on to do. And if you're the Iceman, that's what we said earlier, and that's what you're going to deliver, hopefully.
Yeah, well, yeah. Thank you for all the help. That's what you said. I've been a XC gear athlete since the start of the Kawasaki. Yeah. I've been on them for the last 4 years. So, yeah, it's good that you do all the brands and can transfer over, and I'm still using it and love it on the rocks and the roots, and I'll be ready to go with it.
Good. It's cool to meet you, Broc, finally. Thanks for the little interview, and hope everybody enjoyed learning a little bit more about Broc Hepler. Thank you, Broc.
All right, thank you.